you know the number one reason people don't make it out of a survival situation that are lost is their inability to determine which direction is which. They end up going, getting more lost and more confused, and they don't end up making it out. I mean, how many times have we heard on the news where they said if they just would have went south, they would have made it to the interstate and they would have been rescued. If they had just went east, they would have made it to the nearest town and they would have been all right. Or if they just wouldn't have went west, they wouldn't have gotten more lost in the woods and the rescuers wouldn't have been able to find them. So number one reasons people don't get lost. It's either they don't bring a compass or they don't know how to use their compass. Most times it's they don't bring a compass. So I'm going to go over today a few ways to determine cardinal direction without using a compass. I'm going to go over how to do it during the day and then how to do it during the night. During the daytime, a couple of facts. Everybody knows anywhere you are on Earth, the sun always rises in the east and sets in the west. Conversely, shadows, which will start out long in the morning, will always go from the west to the east until midday where they'll disappear. And then as the sun sets, they'll go from west to east, back the other way. But they'll always move from west to east. Knowing these facts, you can use what's called the shadow tip marking method. What you want to do is find a nice level ground area, and you're going to want to use a 2 to 3 foot long stick. Since we're indoors, I'm just going to use some Legos here right at 10. You're going to set it up straight and as level as you can, just so that it makes a shadow out in front of you. That's all you need to do. And you want to mark the first, as soon as you set the stick up, you're going to mark the first shadow with any kind of stone or stick or anything you can find around. And it'll be technically your west point. You're going to wait 10 to 15 minutes, as long as the shadow moves a couple of inches, so that you can get another marking stone. We'll pretend that the shadow moved over here. And that'll be your east point. You draw a line between your east point, your west point, your first stone, and your east point, your second stone. That'll be your west-east line. And you can draw a perpendicular line between those, and that'll be your north-south line. So if you stand with your left foot on the west, your first stone, that'll be west, and your right foot on your east, your stone, which will be to the east. You'll be looking directly north, and to your rear will be directly south. Now, if it's a shadowy day, or the sun's not out, it's hard to use the shadow method. But even in the morning times when it's cloudy, you can kind of tell where the sun's coming up. So that way you can get your directions in the morning, and in the evening you can tell when the sun's going down. That'll be west. At nighttime, the easiest way to find directions is to use the stars. There's a couple of differences between being in the northern and southern hemisphere, because you can't always see the same stars. In the northern hemisphere, which is represented over here, your North Star is what you're keying off of. It's called the North Star Polaris. It rotates. It's right at the axis of the North Pole. So as all the other stars look like it's rotating around it, so it's considered true north. You first want to find the Big Dipper. That's the easiest thing to find in the sky. If you find the Big Dipper, take the 2 bottom stars off the ladle, and you'll go over 5 distances. It's the same as the ladle, 2 bottom ladle stars, and that'll help you find the North Star. You can also make sure there's Cassiopeia, which is a lazy W. That'll help you realize it's halfway between there. It helps you determine where the North Star is. If you look directly down from the North Star, at every point towards the North Pole, and you'll have your north. And obviously, your left will be the east, your right will be the west, directly behind you will be the south. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it's a little trickier in the southern hemisphere. You have to find what's called the Southern Cross. It's 4 stars shaped like a cross. You also have to find pointer stars, which are right beside the Southern Cross. The way you know you have the right stars, if you come down perpendicular between the pointer stars and you follow the cross down, you'll find an imaginary point where they meet. Now, it'll be black in the sky. It won't have that many stars because it's just a natural spot where there's not too many visible stars. So it'll look like a black area. That way you know you've got the right stars. When you come to where that points meet, follow those directly down. That'll be your southern landmark. If you're facing south, then you'll know that your east will be opposite of what it was when you're facing north. Opposite of that. Those are the two easiest ways. There's a lot of other ways. A lot of people say you can read moss on the side of trees and rocks, but that's not always right wherever you're at. I also say where you can read if a cliff's wet and it's on the side where the sun doesn't come up, so you can know that's east and west in the evening or daytime. But none of those are really accurate ways to go. So using these two methods, hopefully, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're lost and you can't get out, you can remember these simple facts and find your way home safely.